The house remembered everything. It remembered when the girl was small, the sound of her footsteps and laughter echoing in its rooms and hallways. It remembered the smell of her mother's perfume, the sound of music from the old gramophone player in the dance hall, the way her father's laughter always carried a little too far. It remembered the winters and the summers that followed, and the love that filled the house. But most of all, it remembered when the family left to look for work in the city. The house hibernated. What else could it do? It lost track of time. It knew that time was passing because the mold that stained its walls grew and dust covered its floorboards. Until one day, it was wakened from its sleep. She had come back with a man, her husband, like the house always knew she would. The property had been in her family for generations, after all. Perhaps this time she would stay. They swept its floors. They cleaned its windows. She had changed. She was older, of course, heavier, as if weighed down by something unseen. The man, too, carried a weight. There was hesitation in his step. Yet it seemed that they would make a go of it at first, and to his credit, the man really tried. They both did. Tried to make it a home again. He painted wonderful, colorful pictures while she worked on her short stories. There were romantic dinners, dance sessions around the old gramophone. But in the end, it was not enough. All too soon, a silence settled between them. One night, an argument erupted. So much anger reverberating against the windows, creeping into the cracks of the floorboards. She wanted children. He didn't. He wanted to move back to the city where he could exhibit his art. She preferred the solitude of her ancestral home. The house felt proud that she was standing up for herself, but it also knew that if he left, she would follow him all the same, just as it knew it could never allow anyone to take her away again. The disagreement went on for days. She was sleeping alone in the spare room by now, seeking to avoid further fights, hoping that it would all blow over. But when the man began packing a suitcase, the house knew it had to stop him. A loud sound to bring him to the basement, a tremor, a misstep, the fatal crack of bones smashing into stone. Houses are not helpless, you know. Given enough will and malice, they can move things around, make concrete break, and restore it again to serve their purpose. There was a private funeral in the small cemetery in the grounds of the house where her parents and grandparents were buried. She was devastated, of course. She grew distant, remote, as if to deny the reality of what had happened. The house tried to comfort her, but what comfort could an old house bring? It knew this was the most dangerous time, but it had gambled that the nostalgia for the home she had grown up in would keep her there. And it was proven right, though her presence grew more restless and erratic by the day. She took to gliding endlessly through the corridors, trying to forget, and there were times it seemed as if she would manage that, although perhaps at the cost of her sanity. At other times, she sat at her desk as if lost in a waking dream, hovering over her typewriter, seeking reprieve from reality, occasionally ticking out the words of her fictional worlds. The house did its part to comfort her with memories of the past, the strands of music from the old gramophone player, the squealing of the wheelbarrow, the clink of wine glasses from the dining room. One night, she was awakened by the ticking of her typewriter. A single page had been typed out, something about a woman who loved her husband so much that she promised never to leave the ground he was buried in. Had she typed that? She could not remember. She continued the story nonetheless, seeking to preserve her husband's memory through sheer imagination alone, having him stand at his easel with vacuous eyes, staring at shapes that he did not understand. She sensed the house was watching. She could hear spiders scuttling along the walls, the mold taking the shape of nameless, dreadful things. One night, she heard a noise coming from the direction of the cemetery. Her husband's grave had been desecrated, the coffin smashed open, the body gone. Who would do such a dreadful thing? There was another sound from inside the house, a guttural sound, a sound a wounded animal might make. Then she saw the fire. It was spreading quickly, preventing her from approaching, and there was a new sound, as if the house itself was crying out against all it had lost. And just like that, it was all over. Her house gone, her husband gone. Nothing left but for her to go too. The house had been so preoccupied on holding the woman captive that it never saw its defeat coming, never predicted that sometimes the dead remember too. And sometimes, just sometimes, they too will have their revenge in the most complete and devastating way.